Hey, everybody, and welcome to our final week of our study in Colossians. I hope it's been a blessing to you. Sunday, we fell short of closing out the book. We really wanted to drill down on the importance of speech. That is how we speak to God and how we speak to other people. But we didn't want to just end the book without finishing the book. And so today I want to talk about the final section of this book of Colossians. It's really a farewell on Paul's part. He's saying farewell to the Colossians, but he's also commenting about some very important things, and that is about friendships and about the importance of friends and who his friends are. Friends are important, really, aren't they? Friends add at least 5 values to our life that I could think of. One is companionship. We all like to have times when we're not alone, we have someone with us. They provide encouragement. We always need a pat on the back occasionally, maybe not every day, but occasionally it's nice. Accountability. Sometimes friends hold us accountable in life, and particularly when they know we are set on our purpose or direction and we want their help. Perspective. Sometimes people add a different perspective. They see things through different filters, and sometimes that's very helpful. And finally, friends often provide consolation for us in those difficult days when maybe we've lost a loved one, or maybe we've lost a career or a job, or those moments in life when we just need somebody there to console us, to comfort us and be with us. So in the closing part of this letter, Paul talks about the value of friendships and deals with that subject, or we're going to deal with that subject for a moment. The first thing you notice, if you read verses 7 through 18, you find a list of friends, at least 10 friends that Paul mentions, 10 people who impacted his life in some way, impacted his ministry in some way. I would encourage you to maybe stop here and read through that list and think about it. You'll notice that these friends that Paul mentions are at different places in life. They have different characteristics in their life. He mentions some who stayed with him through thick and thin. And we all need friends like that, right? I mean, somebody that you know has your back, somebody that's with you in the good times, but also there in the bad times. He talked about some friends who prayed for him. And that's always important. And I don't know if we value that enough. The fact of friends who pray for me. I remember one time I was asked to do a funeral for an older person, an elderly lady in this particular case. It could have been many people, but it was just this day that struck me. And as I was doing her funeral service, it dawned on me, this lady prayed for me, I know, regularly. And now she's gone on to heaven to be with Jesus. And I thought, man, there's one less person to pray for me in this world. But it's important, isn't it, to have these friends who prayed. He also mentioned some friends who stayed with him. And, of course, that's because he's writing in prison, and that was important to him. He didn't want to be there alone. He wanted people to be with him. And he's also growing older. We see that by the way he finishes the book. And so and by the way, he even mentions one friend who strayed from the faith and actually left him. And so that's interesting to me. Paul's not trying to just mention success stories, but he also talks about the fact that, you know what, sometimes friends change. Sometimes we lose friends, maybe because our values change, our vision changes, what we like and hope for and what they like and hope for so often changes. And so sometimes friends change. In fact, I would suggest to you that a change of heart often leads to a change of friends. And the truth of the matter is, when the gospel changes your life, it may well change your friends. Not in a judgmental way. It's not that we get on a high horse and look down on everybody else and think, you can't be my friend enough, you're not good enough anymore, or, you're this or that. No, that's not it at all. But our values change, our vision changes, our passions change. We talked about that. Our perspective changes. So there's a lot of changes that come into our lives through this new life in Christ. And oftentimes that does affect friendships. And a change of heart may well lead to a change of friends. So that's something to think about as you read through this list. So I would suggest you take a few moments, read through the list, find those 10 friends that Paul mentions, and then maybe write down what you learn about those friends. Paul gives a sentence or two about each one, and there's something maybe you can learn about them. And then why not try to take that list and develop some ideas, some principles, some characteristics that you might look for in friends. Because as you start to have new friends and change friends, it's helpful to know what you're looking for. It's helpful maybe to have that list. You know, there have been a number of people, got me thinking about this. Paul names this number of people who impacted his life. There's been a number of people who had major roles in my life. Some of them are major players, and if I named names, you would recognize them because they're people that are maybe on a national stage even who have impacted my life. But you know, the majority of people who I would call friends and who have impacted my life, my ministry in one way or another, are really what we might call nobodies. You know, they're really nobody's a nobody, but the truth is you wouldn't know them. If I called their name, you wouldn't know them. In fact, probably they, in many cases, wouldn't realize what an impact they've had on my life. You know, I've often thought if I were to ever write a book, I don't know if I will, but if I ever were, it might be to talk about some of these faces in the crowd that are more than faces in the crowd who have impacted my life a lot. So I was challenged this week as I was reading this passage and being reminded of this. I was challenged to write down a list, to make a list of some people who have impacted my life through the years. That was a challenge. I accepted the challenge and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do that. Could I just give you the same challenge? Would you maybe think about writing out a list of people who have impacted your life, major players and minor players, some who have roles that maybe played a big part in your life, some maybe who didn't. But write it down. Write this list down. And as you have this list collected, maybe you want to talk about it in groups some. If you're doing this in a group, you know, if you're doing it individually, just write it for yourself. Or maybe you don't even want to share with the group. Maybe you just want to write it on your own. But write down this list. And as you write this list, when it's completed, read through the list. And I want to suggest you do a couple of things. One, thank God for that person on that list. That person that you're reading right now, thank God for them and for their influence in your life. Thank God for that person and the way they have impacted your life. Secondly, why not send them a note if they're still alive? You know, in my case, some people have impacted my life, frankly, have moved on and are in heaven today. But if they're alive, why not send them a note? Why not thank them for the impact they've had? Maybe even explain to them how they impacted your life. I think you'll find that to be helpful and therapeutic for you, and it'll be such a blessing to them. I'm convinced. So I don't know. Maybe try it. And then I want to leave you with a question, and I want you to ponder this question and think it through a little bit. It's a bit of a convicting question, but an important question. Here it is. Who do you have in your life as a mentor? Do you have a mentor in your life? Someone you look to help you, to guide you through stages of life. Maybe someone who is a little bit ahead of you in the step of the journey. May not even have to be age. You know, sometimes we think of a mentor as someone older. Not necessarily. It may just be somebody who's gone through the stage in life already that you're going through. For example, maybe you had children later in life, and even though you're older than some of your friends, they've already been through that stage of raising children. I don't know. Do you have a mentor in your life? And second question, are you mentoring anyone in your life? You know, part of the process of being a Christian, I'm convinced, and the part of the influence and the need of friends in our life is this. Someone said, everyone needs a mentor. Everyone needs a Paul who mentors us like Paul mentored Timothy and like he's mentoring these Colossian people. All of us need a Barnabas in our life, a friend who can encourage us, put his arm around us, and help us in our daily journey. And then all of us need a Timothy. Paul's mentoree, if you will, his apprentice was Timothy. We all need someone to be mentoring us, someone to encourage us through our life daily, and then someone that we are encouraging and mentoring. So I'm glad that Paul ends his book, his letter, by talking about friends and the impact of people in his life, because it reminds us that changed hearts often lead to changed friends. And I think it's important for us to consider this as we close out this great book and read Paul's final farewell. It's touching, it's warm, and yet it's instructive. So thanks again for being with us today. And hey, we look forward to this Sunday. It'll be a campus pastor Sunday. I know it'll be a blessing at your campus. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. God bless you.